Been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. Well, having said that, I want me some glory hole.
This is Silver and Blue Nation, the voice of the fans. Here's Big Game James and Producer G.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!
What up, what up, what up? What up, everybody? Silver and Blue Nation, we here again. Big Game James.
Producer G over here.
How you doing, big dog? I love you so much. I'm good to see you. I just love you. I just want to tell you that.
Love you too. Appreciate that. And we love all you guys watching too.
Oh, yeah, we got everybody jumping in there today. I like it. What's up, Jamal? Justin, Joshua, Mama T, Ron Smith, our big supporter. I love you, dog. You've been here from day one, A1, day one. John Wilkins, what's up with you? Daniel, you know who you are. Marvin Hargrove, you know we always talking. James, is it Leninger? I'm sorry, some of these names I'm coming on the fly. Richard, Boothang, what's up with you, Boothang? We just talked to make sure you cook my hamburger, please, or give me some food when I meet with you. And what's up? And we're going to talk some Cowboys football. But before I jump into that, we got a good interview with Bobby Belt. As I said, that guy right there is the field producer for NFL Network, host of Cowboys Comcast, and he's also the Cowboys game day reporter for SB Nation Radio. We had a great interview with him. He gave us some real good information, DeMarcus Lawrence stuff, Dak Prescott, which we're going to talk about, but he got that good inside stuff about Dak Prescott. Excuse me, Randy Gregory, David Irvin, you already know. So make sure the draft, everything. So make sure you check out that interview at the end of the show. And also, we had former tight end of the Cowboys between 2000 and 2003, James Whalen. I don't know if a lot of you know this guy, but, you know, he didn't have a illustrious career, but he was pretty decent, I thought, with the Cowboys. But anyway, he graced his time with us. We asked him some good things. He gave us a hell of an interview. So make sure when this show is over, you check out those interviews, because if you want to hear the good information that you want with that Cowboys news, and you also want to hear about our former Cowboy, maybe talk about Bill Parcells, Dave Campo. James Whalen talked about some Jason Witten when he played over in Europe. Check out these interviews because they are the bomb. So make sure when the show is over, you tune into that because they are awesome. They both gave us a great interviews, and we appreciate them for doing that for us.
Yes, and as you said when we started, Ron Smith, a new supporter of the show, we appreciate that. All you guys that are top fans, you have your top fan badge. You can turn that into a supporter badge. It's $4.99 a month, not much, but you get some exclusive content, some behind-the-scenes stuff. We haven't really started pumping that out yet, but we need to get some supporters so that we can start working on that type of content. So $4.99 a month. You can cancel at any time, so don't be afraid to try it out and see this cool, like, behind-the-scenes type stuff you can get, and a little bit deeper look into how we do things here, getting ready for the show and after the show as well. So,
yeah, I think there might be a hater in the house. If there is,
get
out of here. If you a hater, get on out of here, buddy. We don't like no haters, so get on out of here, bud.
There's haters everywhere. We're streaming on Facebook Live and YouTube. I'm sure we got some on YouTube as well, as we'll take a look as we go on throughout the show here. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter show today as we keep kind of running into time constraints, but we got a couple things to talk about, some big news. What should we start with first? We got Sean Lee, David Irving, Dak Prescott.
Well, let's start with David Irving because obviously everybody's seen his – well, not everybody, but, there it is, the Instagram live video. He getting chiefy on there. And first of all, people got to understand that's not a blunt. It's a big fat J. It's a fatty. And, David Irving jumped on there. If you haven't heard already, David Irving said he's done with football, done with the NFL. And he basically is tired of it, went on Instagram Live smoking, talking about this and that. And, me personally, if to really deal with the David Irving situation and make sure, like I said, listen to Bobby Belt because he's really going to confirm the things that I said about David Irving. I don't know why we're surprised about this with Irvin. The dude don't like football. I said that for I don't know how long, for probably about 7 or 8 months now, how he doesn't like football, how he was only playing football because he's 6'7", 310 pounds, and he probably didn't want to work a regular job. And when you seen him coming out of shape and not rehabbing the ankle and always having issues with the drugs or whatever that's going on, I don't know why we're surprised. But David Irving went off when said he was done. My thing about it is good riddance. Let's worry about people who are on the team now. To me, you was just somebody that I don't know why they kept him this long. Well, yeah, I do. I know why they kept him because of that size and what he produced on the field. But if you ain't never on the field, you ain't never played a full season with the Dallas Cowboys, I don't know why there's this big ho-hum about David Irving like he really cared about anything. It seemed like David Irving was always making an excuse. First it was about his baby mom, then it was about his child, and then it was just always something with this dude. And to me, he was just a spacey cat, a goofy person, and that never liked football. And basically, good riddance, dog. Hopefully you have a good endeavors wherever you're trying to do. You said you wanted to be a model, whatever. But I think later on you're going to probably regret this because you ain't going to find NFL money everywhere else. You can go be a model, but it ain't going to be no NFL money. So I think later on you'll regret this decision and how you went about trying to prove that marijuana helps. I don't think this was the way to do it, smoking big fat J's on your Instagram Live.
Yeah, I definitely think he might have just ended his career with that one for sure, if he was going to quit or not. I don't even think the NFL would let him back now, even if he changed his mind after just posting a video like that. Because today's world, the video is everything.
Right.
You just straight showed the whole world that you want to smoke weed and you're sitting there smoking on a video. It don't look too good for you for your NFL future because,
who wants to take you?
People make rash decisions in the moment of things, and then, like you said, he might realize later he might regret it. Well, I don't think there's any chance of you coming back to the NFL, not with the video evidence.
Yeah, and like I said, what team is going to really want you? You were already low-key a head case. That's why you didn't get drafted out of college. You were in trouble in college when you went to the Kansas City Chiefs. And Lord knows they give a lot of people chances over there. And you couldn't even make it that long with the Chiefs. On the practice squad, they plucked you for the dirt cheap, gave you the Cowboys gave you a golden opportunity. Maybe everything wasn't perfect over there in Dallas, but I know they worked plenty, and they worked plenty with the David Irvin, and they gave him plenty chances and were plenty patient with David Irvin. So for him to come back and just kind of slap everybody in the face saying, I quit, I'm done with this, good riddance. I don't want that kind of cancer on the team any longer. We don't need that distraction any longer. There's other players that can come in and void and take your spot. And at the end of the day, you're just a number in the NFL. You're not going to be bigger than the NFL. And if you think you are, you're going to have a sad, mistakenly wrong. And that's what's going to happen right now. You're going to fade away like a lot of other NFL players, and we'll never hear from you again. So don't ever think you're bigger than the NFL, because you're going to find out that you're not. And you're just another person in line just like the rest.
Guess we'll keep it on the defensive side of the ball then. Some more news coming out this week. Sean Lee agrees to restructure his deal, take a pay cut. You put out a video. You weren't very happy. You put out the video before the news came out about the pay cut, but you're thinking maybe he should just be cut, period.
Yeah, well, I feel because, and I know I caught a lot of flack for this yesterday when I posted it, that $3.5 million for a backup is kind of expensive to me. As I said before, make sure you check out that video, because me and Bobby Belt were kind of talking about that. I just think that at the end of the day, the guy has been injured. He's missed 51 games in his career, 9 last season. Can we really bank on him being healthy ever? Okay, and to me, $3.5 million is expensive to be a backup, especially when you look at the Dallas Cowboys defense. They play a lot of nickel. They play a lot of that deacon defense, which you're just having 2 backers on the field, and Sean Lee's not going to be on that field. Now, I hear people say, well, he's insurance, so if LVE gets hurt or Jalen Smith, can mentor, he's a coach on the field. But if you're paying $3.5 million to be a coach, why don't you just be a coach? You know what I mean? Why don't you just go ahead and just be the coach? I don't believe and I don't have the faith that Sean Lee is going to be healthy. What if he blows another hamstring and then he doesn't even play, and now you're just sitting on that money? That's all my thinking. You just re-signed Joe Thomas. I like Joe Thomas. I know they got Marshall Lillard back, but I know he was like a core special teams player. You drafted Covington from Indiana last year. You might get somebody in the draft as well. So I just think that $3.5 million for an insurance guy that's a backup, that's just kind of high for my taste. You could have saved some money. There's going to be dead money with like $3 million on dead money on the cap, but that's only going to be 1 year. Dallas ain't going to die for that. So I was just kind of like, I'm not so big on that. Let's get these young guys and let's keep it working, because I don't want him impeding anything with LVE now. LVE came in there and did his thing. And you saw toward the end of the year that did Sean Lee look like kind of a shell of himself? Me and you were talking about that as well. Like toward the end of the year, he didn't look like the same type of player he was looking like the previous years. And that's all my concern is. I don't think he is that same type of player that he was those prior years before. So let's let these young guys work.
I definitely thought the chemistry changed when he came back off that injury, and you could tell like this was LVE's team at that point when he came back in there. It just didn't feel right. The vibe changed. The whole chemistry of that defense changed, I thought. A couple comments here on Facebook Live. Appreciate everybody tuning in and commenting on Facebook and YouTube right now. Terry Turner's in there, our guy. Manny Ramos, what's going on? Mama T. Daniel Candelera says we still have to pay him $3 million even if we cut him.
Yeah, and that's the big thing everybody kind of brought up to me.
A little bit of mixed reactions in the comments. Richard Woodard says wrong move on Lee. I agree, cut him. And then Jess Couch says, but it's like having a defensive coordinator as a backup linebacker. He's definitely worth that much.
Yeah, like I said, $3.5 million is not a crazy amount. It's not going to kill your cap by keeping him. It's just I just feel like if, you still got the DeMarcus Lawrence thing out there. You still got to sign him. You still got Cooper. You still got Zeke. You still got possibly Byron Jones. And, Jalen Smith is going to be coming up as well. Now, when I was talking to Bobby Belt, he was like that, the Cowboys could possibly use kind of Sean Lee as an angle where they might not pay Jalen Smith that money and try to keep Sean Lee, which I kind of didn't believe that, because Jalen Smith, to me, you put all that investment in him, and he's a core player now to me. He's like one of the leaders of the defense now, so I don't see how that would be happening. So we're just going to kind of see how this plays out. I just feel like Cowboys still have heart moves for certain players. I did bring up the situation with Dez Bryant. Some people came back at me kind of harsh with it, but, they didn't give Dez Bryant, and I know he was a little bit more vocal about what he was feeling about his salary, but then it seems like they didn't even give him the type of option that they gave Sean Lee, and it just seems like, once you're in good with the Cowboys and had a tenure, that they're going to kind of just show that heart for you. And I don't want Dallas to continue to make heart moves. I want us to continue to make smart moves going forward, 2019 and beyond.
Guys, in the comments, today's show is being a little bit fast-paced, so sorry if we don't get to everybody's comments or get everybody's shout-outs, but you all know we see you. We love you in there on Facebook and YouTube. We're back every week. We usually a lot more interactive, but again, trying to move along. We're up against the clock with another show coming up here next on the Fan Chat Nation Network. You guys can check that out if you like wrestling. There's another live stream after this one. You can check into that as well. But we'll stick on the topic of contracts, and we'll move to the offensive side of the ball with Dak. There's a report coming out. He's expected to receive an offer from the Cowboys, $27 to $30 million a season, which would make him top 5 highest paid quarterback. You think this is what he should get, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, when you first hear that number, you're like, hell no. Your first thought is, nah, no way you want to pay Dak Prescott that kind of money. But I read an article, and it basically was talking about the situation where the Cowboys are trying to model the Patriots. And if they're going to pay a guy, they're going to pay like their quarterback and kind of fill everybody else out with their contracts. Now, like I said, that's important to watch that video and that interview with Bobby Belt, because he was making some good points. If you pay a Dak Prescott that kind of money right now, which you'll probably be mad and frustrated, within a couple years, he won't be one of the top 5 highest paid quarterbacks. It's going to drop significantly. When he was talking about Cam Newton, when he signed his contract, he was like one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the league as far as being paid when he signed that huge contract. Only a couple years later, he's down to like 12th. So that contract is not going to be a huge contract after a couple years. And the way they structure these contracts now, you can get out with those contracts within a couple years. So let's say that Dak Prescott doesn't perform the way the people want or the team wants, you can have it out within a couple years, and you're not going to be obligated to pay him or owe him that money, and it won't kill you against the cap if you were to cut him. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think if you're going to pay him, you got to pay the quarterback, and that's something that is across the board. And if you look at it now, it looks high, but in a couple years, it's not going to be as high, and it's not going to continue to eat your cap up, because the cap is continually going up each year. They just added another $10 million to the cap this past season, and it's going to probably go up next year as well. So it may look high now, but within a year or two, it won't, and it'll be a reasonable contract for the team, and they still will be able to sign players.
What's up, Joe Tranchina, Floyd Piera, Cedric
KG,
Williams,
what's up?
Andrew Newbolt, Michael Profit, KG Gist. What's going on, everybody? Leon Davis. Appreciate you all in your comments. Again, we're a little bit fast-paced today, not really taking a lot of comments, but we'll give a few shout-outs. Justin Vernato's in there leaving comments. Appreciate everyone who's tuning in right now and tunes in every week. There was another topic we wanted to get to, and that was the safety position. Earl Thomas is out of the Cowboys' price range currently, but I think they both would like to – they have mutual interest in each other, but they got to find a way to meet on that price range. So what do you think is going to happen there? What do you think the possibility of maybe some of the other free agent safeties that are available this season?
I don't think we're going to touch any free agent safety besides Earl Thomas. Dallas and Stephen Jones has made abundantly clear that they're going to sign their own and draft, and that's been the motto for the last few years. So I don't think we should even, we post things about, I post things on the page. What do you think about this defensive tackle? What do you think about this defensive end? But in all reality, we're probably not even going to touch them. As far as the Earl Thomas situation, any player is going to go on the high number. You're not going to lowball yourself if you're a player. You're going to go with the highest number, knowing that you're probably not going to get that number, but you got to start high and then probably negotiate lower. So from what I was hearing, even when we talked to Bobby, that both sides really want each other. Earl wants to come to Dallas, and Dallas wants Earl, but it's got to be at the right price. So it's going to be a situation where they said it almost happened last year. We saw how close it was last year, even with the draft pick, but Seattle kind of balked at it and wanted too much. But now it's here. It can happen, but Earl's got to come down on that price. No way in hell is Dallas Cowboys going to be paying him $15 million a year. It's just not going to happen. And until he comes down on that price number, Dallas ain't going to touch him. They're going to roll with their own. They're going to say, hey, we're happy what we have, and they're going to go in the draft, possibly looking for a safety and upgrade that way. So it's really going to be about those numbers. If Earl wants to come down a little bit, I think it will happen. I think Dallas will get Earl, but he has to come down on that annual number. He has to look at it, and we all know it. I mean, you had two leg injuries. You're hitting that 30-year age, and it just wouldn't be feasible for anybody to be paying no Earl Thomas no $15 million a year. That's just not reality. He's not going to get that anywhere, especially when you see that free agent pool on the safety position as deep as it is. Ha Dix, Tyrann Mathieu, you got Earl, you got Landon Collins, and there's a plethora of guys out there. Trey Boston, there's some guys. Vicario, I believe, is up again. You got guys out there that are serviceable. We've been making it with Jeff Heath and Earl Woods Xavier Woods with that rotation. So Dallas feels that if we made the playoffs with those guys, we can still do it again and draft. So it's really going to be up to Earl and his representatives. What do they want to do? Because he ain't going to get $15 million nowhere else either. I don't care what he says.
Yeah, and I don't think we can go in comfortably next season with the same starting safety lineup and be comfortable with that and feel good about it. Would you, with Jeff Heath, would you feel good about that?
No, I already told you about that Jeff Heath thing. I don't hate Jeff Heath at all. But, he's been a great player as far as them bringing in what he did. He's come in and he's done admirable as far as his job in those 5 years with the Cowboys. But I feel like we need somebody to pair with Woods. We need somebody dynamic to pair with Woods. Woods is going to be nice. You saw toward the end of the season how he was coming on, and I just feel like you need to have somebody else to just kind of make that tandem work. And we need some guys on that back end. Our secondary was okay. Byron Jones was nasty. Cheeto was okay. Anthony Brown, okay. You didn't even really see Jordan Lewis this year, but you got to protect that back end, and we still didn't get a lot of turnovers, on that back end. And everybody says, oh, well, Heath is one of our best playmakers. Heath had 1 interception last year. And his highest interception total in one season was 3. The guy still misses open field tackles. He still takes bad angles. I think he led the team in missed tackles this season. Not trying to bash you, Jeff Heath, but at the end of the day, you need somebody dynamic to pair with Woods now. If we're talking about the time is now and they're trying to make a Super Bowl run, I don't think Jeff Heath is the answer if you're trying to make the Super Bowl run on the back end at the safety position.
I think maybe this whole Earl Thomas being high with the cost situation, that could have tied into last season as well. Maybe there was a trade in place, but the Cowboys still wanted to feel comfortable that they were going to be able to extend him, so they don't give up the draft pick and then not get, he leave after the next season.
Right.
So maybe that could have played a part in it last year too. Maybe Seattle had agreed to the deal, but maybe Earl Thomas wasn't going to, come to that agreement with the Cowboys for his contract extension. That could have been a maybe. I don't know. I doubt the Cowboys would have executed that deal without that assurance or guarantee that they were going to have Earl Thomas for more than just the rest of that season.
Exactly. I mean, I know they're going to want at least a 2 to 3 year deal with that, because you could look at 32, 33 years old, or even after a year or two, you could probably cut him and it won't kill you on the cap. So I just hope that if it does, they can come to an agreement. Like I said, you move down to Texas, you're in Austin. I feel like there's just been a big tease for the last 2 years, and I'm just like, let's get done with the teasing. Either make it happen or you don't. You know what I mean? Because we need to make something right now. 10 years in the game with Jason Garrett, we still haven't seen an NFC championship. 23 years in the game before last time we even seen a Super Bowl, and the time is now with this team. It's not going to keep on every year in and year out. Oh, well, we're doing this and we're doing that, but we still aren't getting to the apex that we want. Cowboys fans are frustrated, at least this Cowboys fan is. I am frustrated because I'm tired of falling short with this team, and we have the talent. And we're just going to see, even with this DeMarcus Lawrence situation, that's going to be huge because now you have DeMarcus Lawrence when he was talking about that shoulder surgery. He didn't like the first deal. He's still upset. His people are mad. They don't like what's going on right now. That situation can get ugly. And I brought up the situation with Dez Bryant on the page on 2015. That situation got ugly. Dallas kind of slow-footed by getting that contract with Dez. It was like at the wee hour right before that July 15th deadline. He stayed away from the team. Wasn't training like he was supposed to. You're not getting in football shape. And then what happened, G? As soon as they sign him, he comes into camp and he gets hurt. He breaks his foot. Year lost. So you have a year that you waited all that time to sign him. Then when he finally comes into camp and he gets hurt, and then you lose a whole year. We don't have time for that, G. And I don't want this to be a situation where DeMarcus Lawrence holds out off, especially on that shoulder surgery, waits until June or July till they sign him, and then he gets it done. Now you got a 3 or 4 month rehab. That means you're going to be missing OTAs. You're not going to be around the team. You're not going to rehab that shoulder in enough time. And then when you get to the season, what happens? You get a contract now and you're comfortable. Now you may get hurt on that shoulder, right? Now you know you got that deal. Maybe you don't play those 2 or 3 games. Maybe you don't go as hard. I don't know. But I just know that he played them 2 years because he had to. He had to get that money, G. And he wasn't going to miss them games with that torn labrum because if he did, it would have cost him money. Now if you get a big contract, who knows if you don't, it's easier for you to sit out because now you got something long term.
All right, I want to pick one final question out of the comments before we move on to show you guys the James Whalen interview. Let us know in the comments, do you guys remember a tight end named James Whalen, played for the Cowboys from 2000 to 2003 through the Dave Campo era. He was there when Bill Parcells came in. He wore number 83. Let us know if you guys remember that tight end, James Whalen. We got an interview with him coming up in just a second.
And it was a really good interview.
Yeah, it gives lots of insight into the European League, his time with Bill Parcells, Jason Witten, things like that. So it'll be very interesting for any of you deep Cowboys fans who've been a Cowboys fan for a long time. You definitely want to be interested in that. But the final question I want to take was from Mr. Hargrove. He says, is it true that Chidobe Awuzie could be moved to the safety position?
I don't know if that's true or not. I seen an article. I posted an article. Why don't you move him there? I said that was an option. You remember when we first started Silver and Blue, G, and we drafted Awuzie. One of the positions I said that the Cowboys could do is move him at safety because when he was at Colorado, he played the safety position there. And I think he has the size. He can tackle, and you could see him blitzing off the edge. He had like 5 sacks in his career at Colorado coming off that edge. So I don't know if they're going to do it because of Chris Richard, but there's some cornerbacks in the draft that have people been looking at. This kid in particular from Houston, his name is Johnson. He was a former receiver, and he's about 6'2". Richard likes those tall corners. That is a possibility in my eyes because it's not going to hurt the team. You can slide a Heath out. You got Awuzie and Woods. You can get Jordan Lewis back in that lineup. I know he's not the big prototype guy that you like, Chris Richard, but Jordan Lewis, he's a good corner, man. He's a good corner. And you can still get people in the draft or free agency because you can never have too many corners. I don't know how true it is. We'll see. There may be some experiment, may play some part-time in certain nickel packages or dime packages, but for it being a full-time move, I'm a little bit suspect on that, Mr. Hargrove.
It looks like a lot of people in the comments do remember tight end James Whalen, who was a backup, originally drafted by, I think was it Tampa Bay or the Chiefs?
No, he was originally drafted by, I think it was the Chiefs. And we came to us off the practice squad, immediately went to allocated to the NFL Europe, had an outstanding year. And then, he had a little bit of injury bugs, which he'll tell you about, that really kind of curtailed the career. He said, the NFL life is a hard life, and that's where he's going to kind of talk about Jason Witten. So, like I said, you definitely want to check out that interview with James Whalen and especially with Bobby Bell because a lot of things that we're talking about with the David Irving, Randy Gregory, because he kind of broke the story with Randy Gregory. Dak Prescott, he'll give the numbers as far as that, and Sean Lee. So as much as we talk about it, he actually has some of the inside knowledge. So that's why it's going to be a really good interview that you definitely want to check out and listen, because it's going to be things that you're asking me, but this is the things that he's close to the Cowboys, and he's going to give you those good answers that you're going to really want. So you definitely want to check into that interview and see it, because you're going to hear a lot of things that we've all been kind of asking ourselves, and he's going to kind of break those things down. And even with the draft, we've been talking about, getting that big guy in the middle, G. We've been getting pushed around in that middle. You saw it happen in that Rams game, and it's like, is Dallas ever going to step outside the box and get that big defensive tackle? So that was addressed as well. So a lot of things that we ask, those questions I hit up Bobby, and you're going to want to get those answers and hear those answers from him as well. It's some good stuff.
Yeah, usually we're a lot more interactive. We take a lot more comments. Those of you who watch normally know that, and we will be back with more. Maybe we could sneak something in here on Wednesday. We will be here at the studio, so maybe we could jump in here for a sec. I won't make any promises, but maybe we can have a little stream on Wednesday and take some strictly some Cowboys fan Q&A stuff. That way we can get that interaction going. But enjoy this interview. I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of time that we had with you, and make sure you guys tune back next week. And on YouTube as well. If you're not there, subscribe. Follow us on all accounts. We're on Roku. We've got a Patreon. Everything that you could think of. Social media, Silver and Blue Nation is there. So that's it for me.
Oh, and just like I said, make sure you just keep on to continue to check out the show, support. We got we just talked about Ron Smith. He became a badge supporter with the Silver and Blue Nation, which we love you, Ron, for. He's been one of our guys that's been here from the beginning. It can start out as low as what, $4.99, G?
That's it, $4.99.
$4.99, and it doesn't have to be a super commitment. So it's not like you're locked and loaded for a year subscription or 5 months. It could be a month-to-month thing if you like. But if you want to continue, you see we've been pushing out the videos for you with the Cole Beasley situation, DeMarcus Lawrence, Sean Lee. We're going to continue to push that out. But we can't only do so much with that fan support. So you guys that have been really supporting us and going hard for us, hey, get out there and support us even more so we can get even more good content for you guys and try to get the best interviews, close-ups, coverage, players, all that good stuff.
Yes, we love you all, and that's Big Game James.
And that's Producer G. And stay tuned for these good interviews. It's going to be something that you're going to want to hear.
Go Cowboys.
Hey, right. How you doing, Mr. Whalen? This is James, Big Game James from Silver and Blue Nation. How you doing today?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm great. Hey, I thank you for giving me a little bit of your time, giving us a little bit of your time so we can just kind of chop it up and talk about a few things.
My pleasure.
Hey, great. So we're just going to jump right into it. I got a quick few questions for you. You were tied in with the Dallas Cowboys from 2000 to 2003 with Dave Campo. Is that correct?
Yep. I got 3 years with Campo and 1 with Parcells.
Nice. Now, I'm going to ask you real quick, what was the difference between them two guys?
Night and day.
Tell me about it.
Dave he had been with the organization for such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of, he knew the workings, and he was a good football coach.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, when he was there, we had a sort of a rotation of quarterbacks through the first 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That we had. I think I played with 9 quarterbacks in 4 years.
Wow.
And my rookie year, Troy was our quarterback, and he got knocked out by LeVar,
mm-hmm.
and that was his last concussion. And then we had Randall Cunningham. We played with Ryan Leaf. We played with Chad Hutchinson, Anthony Wright, Clint Sterner. Quite a few different guys. And Quincy came in, and the 1 year that we had one quarterback the whole year was the year we made the playoffs, and that was Bill's first year.
Right.
But they're very different. Bill is it's easy to sit back and say he's a master motivator, and the flip side is he likes to play head games. So they're they're very different from a personality standpoint, but both very smart football men.
Okay. Now I want to ask you. Now there's a lot of NFL teams currently going and playing over in Europe. It's kind of getting real big now. Possibly maybe a team may ever go over to the NFL in Europe, maybe sometime in the future. You actually played for an NFL Europe team, and you actually had a good season. You had 66 catches for 691 yards. What was that experience like actually playing with NFL Europe? Kind of tell me what was the atmosphere, the kind of the culture, and how did they really take the NFL at that time?
Well, the culture was definitely different. I mean, you're overseas. That's the first thing.
Right.
The fans, I was in Scotland, and the fans loved it. They were 100% into it every week, and that was exciting. It's different because depending on what team you went to, you had a different experience, whether you were in Amsterdam and Scotland and Barcelona and Germany. So everybody's experience was sort of built off of, the platform of where they were. I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. I did have a great year. I went over there with Clint Sterner, so we had already had some rapport together, having played together for a year. In Dallas, and I think it was really good for me personally just to get more reps. But at the time, I think it was right after my rookie season, and it really reminded me, having come from the SEC, from a talent level standpoint, back to what it was like in college.
Right. Okay.
Guys that were really good football players. That either just needed a little bit more work, or just were missing one thing that kept them from being a really good NFL football player.
Right. Now, have you seen this new AAF league?
I've heard all about it and I've read all about it, but I've not seen anything yet. But I've heard good things about it.
Okay. Because I was thinking like that could kind of be like they had like the NFL Europe, kind of like a farm team where they can kind of move guys up, guys who maybe need to get more seasoning can go play with there and then kind of move up. I think that's something that if they can open up the door, kind of like they do baseball and basketball, that'd be a great outlet. And that NFL Europe, I wish they would have really kept that going because I thought that was a good kind of like farm system to get players better to go right back into the NFL. Your thoughts?
I completely agree. If you look at some Super Bowl quarterbacks, Jake Delhomme, Kurt Warner, played over in NFL Europe, and a handful of other guys, obviously. And, sometimes it just takes guys a year or two longer, and they need to develop a little bit more, either mentally, physically, whatever it might be. And, having gotten extra snaps, every time you can be on the field is when you get better. And, when there's not that outlet and you're not on an NFL roster, there's really no way for you to improve your game other than, in a weight room or in a conditioning setting.
Right. Now, let me ask you this, Mr. Whalen.
Let me say this real quick because you hear about this all the time. When guys hold out, that there's no way to sort of replicate the conditioning of training camp, right? You can't really do it yourself. And I think the same thing holds true for, getting experience. It's not something that you can replicate unless you're actually getting snaps.
Right. I totally agree. Now, let me ask you this, Mr. Whalen. What's James Whalen doing right now outside of football?
Well, stayed in DFW. We've done a bunch of different stuff. Heck, I've lived in Key West since we were gone. I've been all over the place. But living just outside of Fort Worth, raising my family. Got two beautiful kids and my wife, and work for BMW, and I'm feeling blessed.
Yes, and I love it. And I definitely appreciate you accepting my friend request. I ain't gonna lie. When you accepted my friend request, I was geeked up. I was like, yeah, James Whalen, that's dope. I got to talk to this guy because I remember watching you play with the Cowboys, and I was like super excited. I actually thought that they were going to keep you longer because I thought you were really good for us, man.
That makes two of us. But Bill had a different plan, and unfortunately my hamstrings and groins at that time I was 260 pounds and running pretty good. And, my body just wasn't built for the torque that it was required at that weight.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still see guys, like I see Witten every now and then. And if you look at his frame and the way God built him, I mean, he's built to be doing what he's doing. He's 6'5", 270 pounds. His shoulders are 2 inches wider than mine. He's really been given the ability, to support the weight that's needed to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Not to take anything away from what he's done, but, for me personally, unfortunately, it just wasn't in the cards to have a 10-year career.
Right. Well, that was going to segue to my last question for you because I don't want to hold you up. But I was going to ask you, do you watch the current Cowboys? Do you go to any current Cowboys games? Do you still ever talk to Jerry Jones? What's that kind of like with you right now?
I don't miss a game. And I watch it in my living room, and I try to let everybody know that they're not allowed to talk or make noise during the game. I'm very much involved as a fan. One of the things that we just recently did was I got back involved on the board in the retired NFL Dallas chapter of the players, and just trying to catch up with some guys and understand that that's a big part of my life and I need to be more involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to a meeting the other week, and I got a chance to sit there and talk with guys like Flozell Adams and Andre Gerard, a handful of guys that I hadn't seen in years. And I'm trying to be more involved, I guess, if that answers your question.
Right. So that's like for real fraternity, right? So like when guys get drafted and you forge these friendships, is it kind of like a fraternity for life?
Absolutely. I mean, getting to the NFL alone is damn near impossible.
Right.
And to be able to hang around for a while, the amount of respect that I have for every single one of those guys that walks into that locker room is so great that, and it's mutual. It just you form a friendship and a bond that's going to be there for a long, long time. Because not only is it physical, but mental and emotionally, you really, in order to get there, you've got to be, one of the best of the best.
Exactly. Well, hey, Mr. Whalen, I just want to thank you, first of all, for granting us and blessing us with this great interview, and you're taking your time out from your schedule to be able to do this for us. Hopefully, I can bring you back on because I still like to talk to you when the season starts. I know you're a fan. We crazy fans too, but I would like to have you back on when the season starts if you'd like to do that, so you can kind of give us some of that maybe insight that you see.
You just let me know, and I'll be happy to do it.
Hey, I appreciate you, Mr. Whalen. Well, hey, thank you once again. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. Be blessed. Your family be blessed. And we will definitely be talking to you soon. And thank you very much for your time today.
Yes, sir, James. Have a great weekend.
You have a great weekend as well, sir. Mr. James Whalen, former Cowboy. All right. So we're just going to jump right into it, Bobby. First, let me give you a shout-out. Thank you for coming on to the show once again. I got Mr. Bobby Belt, that's graced our time here at Silver and Blue Nation, field producer for the NFL Network, Cowboys game day reporter for SB Nation Radio, and host of Cowboys Comcast, which I have checked out a few of your podcasts, and they're pretty awesome. I love it.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so we didn't heard all the news. We seen the live video with David Irvin, smoking the fat joint on his Instagram Live. One of the questions I want to ask right off the beginning, because this subject is pretty heavy, the marijuana topic. Now, you were instrumental to me in breaking the story with Randy Gregory. That's one of I was posting a lot of your things on our page. You kept everybody in the loop about Randy Gregory, what was going on, how he was going to be close to being reinstated. Now, you had the situation with David Irvin going on live with the marijuana, and then you had Randy Gregory with the possible being resuspended. Now, the question I want to ask is this. First, do you think the NFL is going to really look at this going forward, like when they go to their negotiations with the players union? Is this something that's actually going to be put on the table now? Because, number one, so many players are actually doing this, and people are always talking about it. Is this something that the NFL is actually really going to address when they talk with the players union? Is this something that's going to be put on the table? Is it going to be this performance-enhancing drug with marijuana? Is this something that they can actually remove, or is this just going to be something that's just going to be there?
No, I'm sure they will look at it because it's like anything else. When you enter a negotiation, you're looking for leverage and you're looking for items to trade off and, things like that. So I don't know how much they particularly care about it anymore other than just for negotiating purposes for this new CBA. It's something that they have for trade that they can get from the players. Because it's like I say, when it comes to those CBA negotiations, you're just looking to, use whatever you have for swapping whatever you're willing to give in to leverage something from the other side. So, it'll be interesting to see how they approach it. But, I would anticipate that at some point in the next couple of years, it's something that is removed from the testing or from the suspendable offenses. That's not anything I've heard. That's just my own assumption. But I would guess in the new CBA negotiations, that's where it finally gets, handled in some sort of a trade-off with the players.
All right. Now, if that's something that, let's say they say we remove it, do you think anything backlash will players like say, well, we were suspended prior, anything like that, try to use that against the NFL?
I mean, they may, but I'm sure they'll already have whatever, they'll be prepared for whatever sort of, grandfathered in punishments will come with it. I'm sure they'll come to some sort of agreement in advance about, what they're willing to accept and who they're willing to let back in and things like that. I mean, it'll probably be up to XYZ date of your offense. We're no longer looking for it. But if you did before this date, those punishments are still applicable. I would imagine it's something like that. I don't think you're going to see any, retroactive reinstatements or anything like that.
Okay. Now, with the Randy Gregory situation, now I looked at David Irving, and to me, those are two different situations in my eyes. Number one, it just seems to me David Irving just don't care, and he's just trying to use excuses of why this is happening, why that's happening. But with Randy Gregory, I actually feel like there's an issue with that. I actually feel like he has an issue. You've been following the situation really close. Like I said, you gave a lot of good information. Now, my question is, you hear Jerry Jones saying, oh, he could still possibly play this year and things of this nature. Do we really think that Randy Gregory can play this year after his forced suspension? And did he miss a test or did he test positive? Because I'm in the dark with this. What really happened with that Randy Gregory situation? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's something that's not quite clear in terms of what he did to get in trouble. I think it's something that it was obvious that they'd been fighting it for a little while now. I don't think it's something that, cropped up right when he was suspended. I think it was something that had kind of been coming for a month or so. But yeah, it's hard because I think that David Irving and Randy Gregory both have issues, so to speak, and things that they need treated. I just think that their approach to trying to better themselves is completely different. And that, I said it the other day that Randy Gregory's doing everything he can to get back on the field. David Irving wouldn't even rehab a sprained ankle.
Right.
I know there were some folks who wondered internally when he hurt his ankle, like, okay, how bad actually is it? Is it really bad, or does he just want to not practice? Does he want to collect a check? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that's enough of David Irving's reputation that the team had to wonder, is he actually hurt at first? And so, I think eventually they realized, yeah, he was hurt, and it was just he wasn't rehabbing to get back. But I don't think anybody's ever questioned Randy Gregory's his desire to be out there. And that's always been the question for David Irving. I mean, the guy, he does not like football. I don't care what he said. He's told dozens of people over the last couple of years privately that he hates football. He doesn't want to play it. He doesn't like it, but it's his means of living. So he went along with it. But I think now that he's got a little bit of money, he's okay walking away. But I mean, it's funny because, he comes on Instagram Live and says he's walking away. I know for a fact 2 days earlier he was telling people that he was wanting to play again. So something changed in 2 days, and I think it was probably just more he realized how hopeless it was that he was ever going to be reinstated.
Right, right. And I'm glad you said that, Bobby, because I've been screaming that for I don't know how many, at least a year, that David Irvin doesn't like football. He just happened to be 6'7", 310 pounds, and he said, well, you know what? I don't feel like working at a regular job, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this right quick and see how far it can get me. And that's what happens. And if you don't love the game, that's eventually going to come out. It's not going to just last forever. You're going to get tired of getting hit all the time and say, I don't want to do this no more. You get what I mean?
Yeah, he's a more aggressive, negative, probably prickly version of Ricky Williams. I mean, it's the same guy.
Exactly. Now, also, I'm going to bring up this Dak Prescott thing because this guy, Dak Prescott, I love Dak. Everybody, I thought Tony Romo got hated on, but Dak Prescott takes the cake. That's a whole different monster. Now, you hear Jerry Jones that they're trying to kind of model the Patriot way. Okay, so I seen an article where they're talking about possibly he may get paid $27 or $30 million a year. They don't know what they're going to do with the other guys. Is this something that they're going to try to just kind of model the Patriots and put that money into Dak Prescott and kind of let the chips fall where they may with the other players and just kind of make him the head guy as far as the money and keep kind of staying kind of cheap with the other players?
I mean, they could. I think they've got a lot of cap space right now, and they got a lot of guys to pay. And I think you can, Dak said it recently to USA Today that I think they have enough money to take care of everybody. They really do. And, a top 5 contract for a quarterback is not nearly as crippling as everybody likes to pretend it is.
Mm-hmm.
The cap continues to grow. If he's paid as the 5th highest paid quarterback this year, then 3 years from now, he will be like number 12 or 13. So
Right.
Everything's kind of cyclical. It's going to continue to grow. And so it's a little petty to complain about. You don't want to pay him like a top 5 quarterback. Well, during the middle of that contract, he's not going to be paid like a top 5 quarterback, so you don't have to worry.
Right.
It's just the way things go. But I think that, I think they will get his extension done at some point this offseason. I think he's probably in line for about 5 years at about $28 million per season. And, he'll be paid like a top 5 quarterback. But it's one of those things where most quarterback contracts are structured to where you can get out of them after year 1 or year 2 of the extension years. And so, if the Cowboys just don't restructure and push money down, the line like they did with Romo and Witten and other guys like that, then they're not going to have a problem getting out of it if they decide he's not the guy. So it's a little sensationalist to say that, you just can't pay Dak Prescott top 5 money and this will cripple the team. That's just not exactly accurate.
I feel you. Thank you for letting us know that, because it just seems like so many Cowboys fans are like, don't do that. We're going to be back in cap hell, and Dallas ain't going to be able to do nothing to sign nobody if they do this with Dak Prescott. And just as you said, as the contract goes farther, you got Patrick Mahomes, those guys coming up. They're going to be commanding a lot more money than a Dak Prescott.
Yep. I mean, Cam Newton had the same thing happen. Cam Newton was the 2nd highest paid quarterback when he signed his extension. He just finished the 2nd or 3rd year of the extension years, and he's number 12 now in terms of guaranteed money. So, I mean, he's fallen 10 spots in 3 years.
Right.
And so it's just, I mean, you're going to see that with any quarterback.
Right. Now, another topic that I want to talk about is DeMarcus Lawrence. Now, we got this situation where they said, the Cowboys made an offer, and they were like, it wasn't a serious offer. You have DeMarcus Lawrence with the bum shoulder, saying that he's not really going to get the shoulder surgery until possibly a contract comes. Now, what do we really think that the Cowboys would actually, if they feel like they're too far in numbers or he asks too much, do you think the Cowboys would really dangle him for picks, possibly try to kind of go the Patriot way? And there's a lot of defensive free agents, especially defensive ends, that are going to be cheaper than him. That probably not as good as him, but you can get a serviceable player or two and get draft picks. Do you think that if he may outprice himself, do you think the Cowboys would actually go that route?
They might. I don't know how much they could get for him. I mean, the last couple players we've seen who have had issues with signing a franchise tag or coming to terms on a long-term deal were Le'Veon Bell, which Le'Veon just sat out an entire year. And then the other example we have is Josh Norman with the Panthers. And the Panthers just opted to go ahead and rescind his tag rather than try and trade him or anything like that. So, I mean, you could see the Cowboys rescinding the tag, or you could see, D-Law waiting as long as he can, then signing the tag, but then having shoulder surgery in July. Or you could see the Cowboys try and flip him for some sort of a pick. Those are all worst-case scenarios. I think they probably get a deal done eventually, but I'm not as confident in it as I was, a month ago or so. But he's not happy, and his people aren't happy, and it's not a good place to be in. I don't know how much we ever fully recovered from the hurt feelings of that long, drawn-out Dez Bryant negotiation ahead of the 2015 season. So, I would think the Cowboys would want to tread a little bit lightly here, but the last 5 players who have been tagged in consecutive off seasons have never reached long-term deals with the team that tagged them. And so, you look at Le'Veon Bell, Kirk Cousins, Anthony Spencer, Tremaine Johnson, Phil Dawson in Cleveland. Those guys all left after the second tag, or in, Anthony Spencer's case, he re-signed for a 1-year deal and then went off to the Saints, but they never got a long-term deal. So Cowboys and DeMarcus Lawrence are working against a little bit of history here. And so I don't know how confident everybody should be at this point. I'd put it about 80%. I think they eventually get a long-term deal done, but 80% is a lot lower than my 95 earlier.
Okay, and now let me ask you this, because that's what I'm worried about, because when I seen that stalemate that they did with Dez Bryant stayed away, and then he finally signs at the last minute, gets into camp, gets hurt. Now, DeMarcus Lawrence already had 2 back surgeries. He's already had the broken foot. Now you got the bum shoulder. I'm worried that if they slow foot this and try to drag this out like they did the Dez Bryant situation, he waits forever to get the shoulder surgery, gets it, got to take forever to rehab, and then all of a sudden now you got a guaranteed contract. The shoulder gets hurt. Now, you think it's easier for him to sit out now a couple games because now he's got a long-term contract. Those last couple years, he wasn't having the long-term, so he had to play in my eyes so he could get that money. Now, to me, I could see him. I'm not saying he would, but it just seems like it'd be easier for a player to know that he's got his money, that when that shoulder is aching in week 2 or week 3, I'm going to sit out 3 or 4 games now. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that he's just going to wait as long. See, it's tough because Jerry intimated while he was at the Combine that if Tank lets the surgery go too long, they just won't sign him to a long-term deal. And so at that point, it's Tank's. If it goes all the way up to July and Tank hasn't had shoulder surgery yet, he's either signing the franchise tender or he's not signing at all, and the Cowboys are rescinding it. And so I don't know which direction they're going to go, but I think if he hasn't had shoulder surgery into June, I just don't think a long-term deal is getting done at all.
Okay, and I like that information that you got. Now, I caught a lot of flack yesterday, Mr. Bobby, about Sean Lee. I went ham on it. Now, I don't hate Sean Lee, Bobby. I don't hate Sean Lee. But to me, talk to me, dog. If this man comes back, they said restructure. Tell me if pay cut restructure. I need to know what that means, because $3.5 million for a backup is rather expensive to me. And when you have a guy who's missed 51 games in his career, 9 last year, he's not reliable. To me, Dallas plays a lot of nickel defense, so you didn't see a lot of him on the field. And then toward the end of the season, they were rotating him and LV out, and it seems like it was just taking the chemistry away from him and Jalen Smith. What do you think about the Sean Lee restructure or pay cut? Tell me what you think about that. But is this a good idea and a way to go? Because I feel like this is just another heart move by the Cowboys, because he's had a long tenure. Everybody loves Sean Lee. So we're not going to take his money all the way down, but we're going to make it at 3.5. But if he hits his incentives, it'll go right back up.
Well, I mean, if he hits his incentives, then that means he played well enough to earn 7. So, I mean, I'd be fine if he ends up doing that. But, yeah, I think that 3.5 seems like a lot for a backup linebacker on a nickel-heavy team. But, I kind of wonder how much they're treating it just like Witten. with a $3 million base salary, and he's like, a player coach essentially. I also wonder how much of it is, does Sean Lee believe he has 2 to 3 years left, and the Cowboys say, all right, we'll make this restructure and go ahead and pay you more of an incentive deal and keep you in tow in case you prove to us that you do still have it. And then maybe they let Jalen Smith walk, who's coming up on the last year of his deal.
Do you think they really do that, Bobby?
I don't know. I'm just
Don't
saying,
you tell me nothing like that.
You never know how they're going to approach things because they've got a lot of guys to pay. They got Jalen, Zeke, Amari, Byron Jones. I would imagine they're going to move on from Lyle Collins after this year. But Lyle Collins is entering the last year of his deal. So, they got a lot of guys they're going to have to pay, and they're going to have to, make cuts somewhere. And so maybe they decide that's Jalen if they see that Sean Lee can still do it. Or maybe it's just leverage to try and, show Jalen Smith, hey, we've still got Sean Lee, so you're not, it may just be a negotiating tactic. But yeah, I don't think that you're going to see – I think you're going to see about the same linebacker rotation you saw last year, and it's going to be mainly Van Der Esch and Jalen, and if one of them happens to get hurt, then you've got Sean Lee there.
Okay. Well, I know you got some things to do today, so I'm not going to hold you too long, but I want to ask you one question heading into the draft and even the free agency. You've been hearing about the Earl Thomas thing. Is that alive or dead? So Cowboy fans just not talk about Earl Thomas no more?
I wouldn't ever say it's completely dead because there's want to on both sides. They want him here. He wants to be here. But at the current dollar amount, no, it's not going to happen. At the current amount that he wants, no, that's not going to get done. If things come down or if it's more just a tactic to try and, gamesmanship a little bit between the Cowboys and Earl Thomas, and he's not really wanting as much as he's saying. He's just looking for something to negotiate down from. Then maybe I wouldn't say it's completely dead because, like I say, there's just too much want to on both sides, and they were really, really close to getting something done at the end of August into September before the season started, before he reported to Seahawks. They were really close. And so I wouldn't say it's completely dead, but I would not bet on him being here.
Okay. And last thing about the draft. Dallas doesn't have a pick until the second round. Do you think they would actually trade up? And what are your thoughts about who they would pick? Everybody's been screaming. I've been screaming defensive tackle. Please, can we get a big one tech in there? I love Antoine Woods. That's my dog. I like those. This guy re-signed Daniel Ross as well. But we need that big plugger. I'm sorry. It just seems like, I wrote an article where teams actually went away from the run, and if they would have stayed with the run against gashing us up in the middle, they would have had more yards, but teams went away from the run. Now, do you think that will ever be addressed? Because you still have Ron Marinelli at the fold who messes with the defensive line, and he doesn't like those big defensive tackles. Will they finally address the defensive tackle position in this draft?
Yeah, I don't think they'd trade up to answer your first question, or if they did, I don't think they could trade it very much. It's just too much capital they'd have to expend to get up, higher from the end of the second round. But, I guess they could go up to the 40s if they like somebody. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if defensive line's the first pick. I think, you'd be looking at guys like Renell Wren from Arizona State, can play inside outside. Charles Omenihu, Texas, who can play inside outside. Another guy like Zach Allen from Boston College, who could also be that same sort of player. I don't think you'll ever get a strict one technique defensive tackle or a primary one technique defensive tackle. But there are enough guys who provide flexibility of, kind of moving all over the line that, would be good options for them to be able to have as a one technique, and they would feel okay about it because they could then shift them around. The guy who fits that to a T is Renell Wren from Arizona State. He's not quite as long as David Irving was, but he's a bigger guy like David Irving. He's pretty explosive. He's raw. He's got a good quick first step, and he can play zero technique, one technique, three tech, outside, whatever you need. He can do it similar to the way David did. And so I would think Renell Wren would be a really nice fit for them, but, it remains to be seen how the board breaks out. I think they really like Andy Isabella from UMass, the receiver. If he's sitting there at 58, they may say, hey, that's our Cole Beasley replacement. But, they've already picked up the options on Allen Hurns. They may re-sign. In fact, they're probably going to re-sign Tavon Austin some point soon before free agency starts. You've already got Gallup and Cooper locked in. So, that's 4 receivers right there, and that's before Cedric Wilson and Noah Brown and guys like that get a shot at the job. And so I don't know. They may be insuring themselves against even having to take a receiver. But it's certainly going to be interesting. I think the biggest needs for them, the guys that they're going to target heading into the draft, will be running back, somebody behind Zeke, and then probably offensive tackle. And then that defensive line spot, a guy who can play inside or outside.
All right. Hey, Bobby, I just like to tell you thank you for your time. You know, I was talking to you back and forth. I'm calling you Bobby Digital from here on out. Please don't take no offense to it. I love Wu-Tang and I love the RZA, so you Bobby Digital to me from here on out. So when you hear me or you see a tweet to me, it's Bobby Digital. You know who's hitting you up, big dog.
Yeah, ain't got Jack in my lap. Don't want to see Tupac.
All right, man. Hey, I appreciate you. Hey, giving us that little bit of time, your great keen insight. Keep on making that work over there because, like I said, we post a lot of your stuff on our Silver and Blue Nation page and my Big Game James page. So salute to you. Hopefully I'll be talking to you soon, and keep on pressing that good Cowboys news to us. And thank you very much for your time today.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, bro. Take care.